Muy buenos días, ¿y cómo están ustedes hoy? Yo soy Señora Davis, la maestra de español. Bienvenidos. Hey guys, it's Senora Davis. I am your Spanish teacher, and today we're going to be talking about the content in Module 4. So this is part 1 for Module 4. As always, if you've been keeping up with my videos for the course, this is how you can get in touch with me. You can click that link to watch a video of me just talking about myself. You can visit me in the virtual office during my office hours. Here's my contact information, and you can call me or email me. Okay, so today we're really going to focus on Module 4, comidas, the vocabulary for comidas. Comidas are foods. So this is always a fun set of vocabulary to learn. Most students like to do that. So we are going to take a look at these words. I encourage you to listen to these words and practice the pronunciation in Buzz. You can do that. Actually, with all of your vocabulary, they do a very good job in presenting it. So I encourage you to do that. And then just take a look at the words. And we are going to just do a quick vocabulary exercise just to focus on some of these words, not just the meaning, but to really dig deep and look at these words and the vocabulary. All right, so looking at the words here, which ones are cognates? Now we're going to go back all the way to Module 1 when we learned about what cognates are. So let's go through. Beber, comer, agua, el chocolate. That is certainly a cognate. You could guess that if you didn't know the word. Helado, jugo. Yeah, I don't think I would say jugo is really a cognate. Refresco. Now, refresco isn't necessarily a cognate for the word soda. Okay, this is how we say soda, but it is a cognate for refreshment. So sometimes you'll hear people say, oh, you can get refreshments in the lobby. And so that is obviously something to drink, usually soda. But I guess it could be cafe or té. El sandwich absolutely is a cognate. That's a very strong cognate. Fruta, yep, that's a cognate, fruit. La pizza, of course, is a cognate. And I think that's all that I would classify them as. Okay, now which ones are feminine? Let's go through and how do we determine if a word is feminine in Spanish? Do you remember? So a lot of people want to say it ends with an A. That's not a good way to determine if the word is feminine because remember, we have irregulars. So we need to look at the article in front of the word. So I'm looking for la, which is feminine. So it would be, let's say, la fruta is feminine. Cookie, la galleta is feminine. La pizza is feminine. Oh, and las papas fritas. That is also feminine, French fries. Which ones are plural? Alrighty. Well, the only plural word that I see is las papas fritas, French fries. How do we know? Because it's las and fritas with an S, so plural, more than one. And which one of these words are infinitives? Well, the first two, beber and comer, are infinitives. Okay, now let's go on to the next slide. Now, remember that an infinitive is a word that means to do something. For example, to run, to chat, to play, to eat, to drink. These are all infinitives. Now, usually in Spanish, infinitives end in an AR, an ER, or an IR. You already know that. But today we're going to take a look at a special verb called gustar to express likes and dislikes. Now, before we get started, I want to tell you that I've been talking a little bit about a conjugation through the videos, right? Because that's Remember, I think the last one we did was tener, tengo, tienes, tiene, when we're giving age. So I'm always talking about conjugating. However, this is a special class of verbs. We do not conjugate gustar into all of the forms like we do with other infinitives. So the only thing you need to remember about gustar is gusta and gustan. So gusta for singular and gustan for plural. Okay, now there are other verbs in Spanish that work like the verb gustar. There aren't many of them, but there are some. For example, I put up a chart here, encantar. You've learned that. I think that we've used that in unit or module 1. Faltar, fascinar, that's kind of a cognate, right? To fascinate. Importar, to be important. Interesar, to interest, something interests you. And molestar, which means to bother. I know people get a little freaked out about that word, but it really has no other connotation than just like to be annoying, to bother someone, okay? Now, if you look on the right-hand side, I'm reminding you that you're only ever going to use the 2 conjugations for these, and we're going to find out why in a minute. So see, we have encanta, encantan. Falta, faltan. Fascina, fascinan. Gusta, gustan, and so on, okay? So special classification. Now, you might be wondering, okay, so what does gustar mean? Well, gustar is how we express that we like something. The problem is that in Spanish, we don't really have a word like. So we have to use the verb gustar. So what do you think that could mean? Well, it actually means to be pleasing. Now, I know that sounds a little weird to us as English speakers, but it's Espanol. Now, usually in English, we have subject, verb, object. That's our usual sentence order. But gustar and the other verbs that I mentioned uses a direct object pronoun, verb, and subject order. Now, if you would like to learn more about the verb gustar, sometimes it's just helpful to hear it a different way. I could explain it, it doesn't really click. You could listen maybe to another teacher and you go, okay. So please click on the link and learn more about this verb just to strengthen your knowledge. So here I have 2 sentences. I have me gusta la pizza and te gusta la pizza. Now notice that the only thing that's different is the me and the te. But gusta la pizza and gusta la pizza is the same. So here's the trick in using verbs like gustar that take direct object pronouns. Okay? You got to read it backwards. All right. So like I said, usually the subject comes first in a sentence. In this case, we notice that, well, we're talking about pizza, so that's the subject of it, but it's at the end of the sentence. So anytime you see this gusta or gustan, I want you to read it backwards. And it sounds like this. Pizza is pleasing to me. The second sentence says, pizza is pleasing to you. So the first one, I like pizza. Second one, you like pizza. Okay. All right, so let's take a look. I ask you, ¿te gusta la pizza? And you have 2 ways to answer. You could say, sí, me gusta la pizza. Or also included in this lesson, no, no me gusta la pizza. So we can just add that no and the rest of our answer. That first no is answering the question, right? Do you like it? No, I don't like the pizza. So that second one is in there. I hear a lot of students over the years, they want to say, no, no me gusta. No, no me gusta. Remember, the no is your answering. So, do you like pizza? No, I don't like pizza. So that we have two negatives in there. Okay. So I think the best way to practice this is just to take some of that vocabulary that you're learning and see if we're going to use gusta or gustan for describing these things. Okay, so all right, so here we have. You're going to have to go back and practice your vocabulary, but here we have some vocab, and I'm going to ask you these things. Do you like? And then you're going to answer, and I put the options here. So you can say sí, me gusta, or no, no me gusta. Okay. All right, here we go. Ready? Okay. ¿Te gusta el agua? Sí, me gusta el agua. ¿Te gusta el chocolate? Sí, me gusta el chocolate. ¿Te gusta el jugo de naranja? No, no me gusta el jugo de naranja. Número 2. Comidas. ¿Te gusta el sándwich? Sí, me gusta el sándwich. ¿Te gusta la hamburguesa? No, no me gusta la hamburguesa. ¿Te gusta la pizza? Oh, me encanta la pizza. Oh, sí, me gusta. Notice I switched into encanta instead of gusta because, well, la pizza es fantástica, ¿verdad? Ok. Número 3. ¿Te gusta la galleta? Oh, sí, me gusta la galleta. ¿Te gusta el helado? Sí, me gusta el helado. Entonces, vamos a cambiar la página aquí. And look what happened to our verb. We had to put the N at the end of our verb. Again, because all those things we just talked about were singular. Now, our words are plural, so we need to change the verb to match with the subject. Okay, so, ¿te gustan las papas fritas? Oh, sí, me gustan las papas fritas. Sí. ¿Te gustan las galletas? Sí, me gustan las galletas. So did you notice earlier when I had la galleta? Do you like the cookie? Gusta. As soon as we have a plate of them, it becomes gustan. Okay. Y frutas. ¿Te gustan las frutas? Oh, sí, me gustan las frutas. Okay, now, if you want to learn more fruit vocabulary and you want to practice the verb gustar, just kind of like we did, I found a YouTuber who has a wonderful practice. So I encourage you to just click on this link and you can practice on your own. Now, oh dear. So we're going to take a closer look at the grammar and we're going to talk about direct object pronouns. It'll all make sense. Trust me. All right. So here are our indirect object pronouns. Okay. Actually, I believe I was saying direct object pronouns. Senora, I'm sorry, I meant indirect object pronouns. Okay. So the Spanish equivalents look like this. Now we have them in English. All right. So indirect object pronouns, to me, to you, to him, to her, to us, to them. So this is the chart that we're using. So notice right here that this is where we get the me and the te from. So now you know what they're called. They are indirect object pronouns. Now, let me show you how they work. So, me gusta la pizza. The pizza is pleasing to me. Te gusta la pizza. The pizza is pleasing to you. Now look at our third person singular here. Usted, Juan, and Maria. So here we have, a usted le gusta la pizza. The pizza is pleasing to you, formal you. Remember, we said that we use usted when we show respect, if someone is older than us, and so usted. A Juan le gusta la pizza. The pizza is pleasing to Juan. So that a usted and the a Juan and the a Maria, these are called clarifiers. Because if you take your hand and you cover up those clarifiers and you just say le gusta la pizza, someone might think, well, that's great. I know somebody's liking pizza, but I don't know who you're talking about. So we use a clarifier to clarify who we're talking about. So do you have to have it? No, but if you don't know who you're talking about, it can be very confusing when you hear somebody say, le gusta or le encanta. Who? Okay. Now, on the plural side, we have nos gusta la pizza. So the pizza is pleasing to us. Os gusta la pizza. The pizza is pleasing to you all. Informal. A usted le gusta la pizza. You all, formal, like the pizza. A ellos le gusta la pizza. A ellas le gusta la pizza. The pizza is pleasing to them. And I see two errors there again. Señora, ay Dios. Okay, guys, look. A ellos les gusta. We need the les, and we need a ellos les. And I am not going to go back and do this whole recording again. So just put a little S in there and pretend. Again, you can see it here on the chart. It should be les. Okay. I apologize for that. All right, so if the subject's plural, we just follow that pattern, but we put the N at the end of the verb. Let's say if I made the same mistake. All right, so here we have the same thing. So if we're talking about papas fritas, you can see how this works, right? Me gustan, te gustan, a usted le gustan. The French fries are pleasing to you, formal, and so on. And it does look like I fixed it in the slide, so that's good. Nos gustan las papas fritas. The fries are pleasing to us. Look at the last one. A ellas les gustan las papas fritas. The French fries are pleasing to them. And we have our little clarifier, a ellas, so that we know that them happens to be a group of girls as opposed to a ellos. So the clarifier is very important, very important. So for right now, I created a few practice. I tried to take some of that content from earlier in the modules, in this case, especially Spain, and kind of recycle some of the things that you learned about Spain, just to refresh your memory. Okay, so let's take a look at my slides. Okay. So my sentences, a ellos, okay, so there's the clarifier. No, so does not, importa el calor. So that means, the heat isn't important to them. Some people might say, oh, you can't go to Spain in the middle of the summer. It's too hot. I'm saying, a mí no me importa el calor. In fact, it was 110 degrees the day that I was in Granada. This is many, many years ago, 110. And I still remember walking around Granada and just being so hot because the sun just seemed so strong. And it was in June. So, okay. So which clarifier is going to make I'm sorry, which indirect object pronoun will match with our clarifier and will go into our sentence? Okay, so if you said les, you would be correct. A ellos no les importa el calor. Número dos. So here's la bandera de España. We have the Spanish flag. And we want to say, we like Spanish. We like Spanish. So we have our clarifier, a nosotros. And if you said nos, you would be correct because a nosotros matches up with indirect object pronoun nos. A nosotros nos gusta el español. Spanish is pleasing to us. Okay. Número tres. Los museos. Hay muchos museos de arte en Madrid, especialmente El Prado. So El Prado is like a really famous art museum in the world. It happens to be in Madrid. Also, I think the bottom picture is the Reina Sofia Museum, also a very big and world famous museo in España. Okay. So she is interested by the museums, or the museums are interesting to her. I have my clarifier, a ella. So which indirect object pronoun would match up with that? If you said le, you would be correct. A ella le interesan los museos. Mi amigo, Pablo Picasso. Okay, so we want to say that he, or art is interesting to him, right? He is an artist, and he is from Spain. You can see some of his work here. The one that you're looking at there in the middle is called Los Tres Músicos, the three musicians. And Picasso went through several changes in style through his life. He started out, doing this style, and then he kind of changed. So a lot of his paintings look very different from each other. This was during his Cubism or Cubismo style. And everybody always looks so blocky, just blocky, like cubes. So, I see. It's okay. No es mi favorito. No es mi artista favorito. Pero, no sé, prefiero quizás Dalí o Velázquez. Me gusta el Velázquez, las meninas, pero sí. Okay. So if you said le, you would be correct. A él le interesa el arte. Aquí tenemos el rey y la reina de España. Do you remember what their names were? So this is King Felipe and his lovely, lovely wife, Leticia. And they are the crown king and queen of Spain. So this is a true sentence for me. I am fascinated by the king and queen of Spain. Which indirect object pronoun would go with that clarifier? A mí me fascinan el rey y la reina de España. Now, I do want to point out here, you don't always have to use clarifiers with me and te and nos, right? Because if you see me, it has to be to me. And if you see te, it has to be to you. And if you see nos, and even os, right? You know. But again, those clarifiers are really important when you get into the third person singular and the plural. So the le and the les. So a mí me fascinan el rey y la reina de España. Okay. Now we're talking about me. She is fascinated by Madrid. Here's a lovely picture of Madrid in the afternoon. Very big, wide streets. Es una ciudad muy grande. It's a big city. Right now, this is a little harder. okay, because we have a Senora Davis. But if we think about it, couldn't we just say to her, right? We're talking about her. So our indirect object pronoun would be le. A Senora Davis le fascina Madrid. Madrid is fascinating to her. To whom? To Senora Davis. Again, we're reading backwards to make the meaning. All right. Geografía. Guess I should have used a different one. I should have put a ti, but I didn't. So we'll keep it me. A mí me encanta la geografía. If I want to say that you love geography, a ti te encanta la geografía. Do you like geography? I do. I love maps. Love maps. I could look at maps all day long. Es verdad. It is true. Okay. Es raro. Is that weird? No sé. Okay. Okay. Aceitunas. Aceitunas. Now, I want to say that I love olives, but notice that the verb is plural, encantan. I kind of just switched it up instead of gusta or fascinan. A mí me encantan las aceitunas. I love olives. And do you remember what we could call this? Let's just review from Module 1. When you learned aceitunas, what are the appetizers in Spain called? Sometimes you'll get a plate of olives, you might get a plate of salchicha, you might get a plate of tortilla española. So these were called tapas, if you remember, tapas. It's very customary to go out for tapas when you're in Spain, especially Madrid. Okay, this is a little gross. Okay, molestan. So I'm showing you, this is how we're going to use the word molestan, like it bothers, right? So moscas are flies. So the flies are bothering him. And I have this lovely, I guess, what is that, salmon? Some kind of seafood with all the moscas. Ooh, okay. So a él, direct object pronoun, to match with that's going to be le. A él le molestan las moscas. The flies are bothersome to him. Okay. Oh, here's one. A los españoles gusta el flamenco. So remember, flamenco is a style of dance that has 3 elements, right? The baile, cante, toque, sing, dance, and movement, and clap. A los españoles. So another thing we could say is they. So the flamenco is pleasing to them. They. So if you were thinking les, you would be correct. A los españoles les gusta el flamenco. And the last practice for today. A él no gusta el tráfico en la nieve. This is an actual picture from Madrid. Yes, it does snow there. A lot of people are surprised to hear that. I don't know why, but I have had people be surprised that it could snow in Madrid. Sí, es normal. Invierno, wintertime, you know. All right. A él no le gusta el tráfico en la nieve. So snowy traffic is not pleasing to him. Nobody likes that. Nobody likes that. Well, es peligroso, right? It's dangerous. Es peligroso. Okay. Entonces, this is the conclusion. And now you should be able to identify food vocabulary, and you should be able to use the verb gustar to express likes and dislikes. If you need more help, you need clarification, or if you just want to practice, contact me. Go back to that first page and find my contact information. In the meantime, this is me making some frijoles. So I was making some beans, and me encantan los frijoles. I love the beans. Con arroz, with some rice. All right, so es todo. Muchas gracias. Adiós. Ciao.